work for a year, you're doing your part 3 and you're qualified. Do you know how to build a building? You're 25. You can do this, you can no. Because you're lying.
Get me the stuff to get me across the line.
In the landscape of architecture, to learn and develop yourself is really tricky. When did working in architecture, it wasn't financially worth it anymore?
I think,
hey everyone, welcome to You've Been CC'd, a space for real conversations beyond the drawing board. I'm Charlotte, an architect.
And I'm Charlotte, an architectural technologist, and together we'll be unpacking the realities of the industry, sharing our experiences, and opening up conversations that doesn't really get spoken about. So whether you're in industry, just curious, or thinking about it,
You've been CC'd.
Before pivoting into construction, I was in architecture for about 7 years, and I think in my 5th year, I started to think about it really hard, because when you look at like your other counterparts, your friends, and like they're in different sectors, and everyone's like managers now and directors, all this and that, and promotions flying all around, and you're still on the same level. It's been 5 years. And it just felt like there was no career progression.
Yeah.
It felt like my salary wasn't really moving. But yeah, it feels like you're literally
just coasting
on the same level
sailing
for years. And yeah, I think that's when I started to question it. And I thought, well, so what can I do then to get to this other level? So I started trying to be more technically competent, because that's what gets you, I'd say, the salary increase for technologists anyway.
I think it's the same with architects. If
the more technical that you know.
the more technical you are, the more you're going to get paid, because
that's so interesting, because
if you are more technical, you're going to be able to be a project architect.
Okay, so you can only be a project architect if you understand planning and technical? Or...
Not necessarily, not to understand both planning and technical, but you have to be more technical minded to be a project runner.
Yeah,
because you're liaising with the project manager on the developer side. So you need to understand what the jargon that is being used.
So would you say a planning architect and like a technical architect, should they be on the same level? Or
I think there could be. I haven't actually looked into the finances between the two to actually understand
what the differences are.
Yeah, but I think the responsibility is higher with a technical architect than a planning architect. So if you look at responsibility, then maybe a technical architect should be paid more than a planning architect, purely based on responsibility.
Okay.
But benchmarking says otherwise.
Okay. But yeah, to answer your question, I think I started questioning if it was worth it in my 5th year out of the 7, and I got out in the 7 because it just, nothing changed. It's not like I switched over because of the money, but I think it was more so they embraced and encouraged more development in terms of my technical awareness, technical knowledge, construction, understanding how buildings actually go together, going on site. And that's the phase of work,
because you're on site, therefore you're going to learn more than you would in architectural practice. I think in architectural practice, it is so difficult to get on site anyway.
Yeah,
like even as a project runner,
literally begging.
Yeah, everyone's dying to get on site. So I think it's only natural that you're going to learn more as a technologist
on the other side,
construction side. I'm fortunate with the fact that I was raised to be really inquisitive and question everything. So I was never shy of asking a question. Sometimes that didn't go down very well for me, and sometimes it worked well. Where it did work really well was in my first job, where I was inquisitive, because I literally was like, I'm drawing this internal wall detail. What goes up first? The partitions, the this, the that. And that's when my director was like, she needs to go to site. She can't be drawing this drawing. She doesn't know how the walls button up to each other. To know how it's actually going to stand up, to understand.
Yeah.
Every line has a reason. Like, yes, you could be drawing the plasterboard. How does that plasterboard finish with that next wall that's coming at a T-section?
Yeah.
Unless you know how that's being built physically on site, you're going to just...
Yeah, you're not going
to know.
You're not going to understand.
And that's the difference between having a well-done construction drawing to just drawing.
Yeah, because that's just how it's drawn.
And that's thankfully I was curious and I was inquisitive. So me going to my director and being like, why is this wall like this, and why does this patch just finish here? Why do we only put this at 900 centers? Why is there one missing here? Why is this okay for this but not over here? He was like, she's got way too many questions. She needs to see this. And thankfully I was given the opportunities to do that and to learn. But I think unless you're inquisitive and nosy and have the audacity, you're not going to get given that opportunity.
No, you're very right, and I think that's definitely, I can say that was definitely a mistake that I made. I feel like I didn't do that enough, and that's because I just wanted. It was like as soon as I got the job, it was like, oh, I've got a job now.
Yeah. Just get on with the job.
Yeah, just get on with the job, and then I thought, oh, actually, I want to progress. Like, I want to do something else. Like, I want to grow, I want to develop as a technologist, but I kind of felt stuck. There was nothing.
Yeah, I don't think
it just felt very.
There is nothing to navigate the career path of like within architecture, which I think navigating the landscape of architecture to learn and develop yourself is really tricky.
Really tricky.
Like, and I think, yeah, not knowing who to speak to, not having anyone to speak to, there's no one like you to get advice.
No one's visible.
I think for me, financially, it started to not make so much sense when I'd been working in architecture for a few years and we all got benchmarked, and I had more experience than others at the same level, and I was benchmarked at the same pay. And that's when I realised this is a bit unfair because I'm bringing more to the table in terms of experience. So I'm able to perform my role quicker and do things naturally quicker based on the experience that I have. But I realised the benchmark was something that I can't change. So if I'm being benchmarked, how can I financially make this work long term if the benchmark is always going to be there and I'm always going to be benchmarked against it? So regardless of the experience that I have, regardless of what I've been able to do, my value is with the benchmark. And there's nothing I can do about that. And that's when I started thinking, well, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I'm capped.
I'm capped. Literally stuck. There's nothing I can do. How do we get paid well? Like, how can we work with this benchmark? And I think, to note, the benchmark hasn't changed in years. Cost of living has gone up.
It has.
We've gone through a whole pandemic. I realised when I did my part 3, they put a statistic on the board for how much 20k was worth 10 years ago to how much it's worth now, and it's double. And it's crazy to think, if I think of my part 1 salary, what part 1 should be on right now based on like inflation. And it's like, that's not even to do with pay rises, nothing. It's just the cost of inflation. Money has doubled in 10 years and salaries have moved like 3k. It's actually crazy. So alongside the fact of obviously career progression and development, people are actually losing money year on year, which is a sad thought to think. And when you're also benchmarked at something that hasn't progressed in 10 years, it also then puts the realization of, how is this financially viable long term? If something that is there in the system to benchmark you against, how do I navigate this to make sure long term that I can continue being an architect and be paid well to look after my family as a woman, and not rely on a man? And I think with that, it's really difficult. And I think that's what a lot of people are talking about these days. How can I make my career sustainable? And although finance is not the be all and end all of a career, it plays a massive part
of life in general,
especially if it hasn't changed or is moving very like slow against everything. I think, it's definitely something that I gave thought to. And I think a lot of women within architecture are giving thought to it as well, because
Yeah, you have to.
you have to. And a lot of women, I think, are, forced to choose when it comes to a certain point in their career. Are you going to have children, or are you going to like
Just climb the
continue to
ladder.
climb the ladder?
Continue.
You're given that choice,
Yeah.
alongside obviously being benchmarked. Hopefully by that point you may have broken through, but I think there's so many people within architecture now. I wouldn't say that it's saturated, but I think there are so many people leaving university looking for a job, and there are so many limited jobs, hence why there is this difficult position that we're in right now with the scarce of jobs, that when you get to that stage, I mean, what age is the average now to become an associate? What age is the average to become a director? Because when I first entered into architecture, people were associates and directors in their 30s. And it's becoming less and less common to see that. So the career trajectory, I think, is very difficult for young people entering into the career to actually see that. If they're only seeing people in their 50s and 60s as architects, as directors, that's a long way to go.
But I also think the reason why that may be is because people are becoming qualified architects a lot later than I think initially. And that could play a part into...
Potentially, yeah.
Because if you're like, I don't know, turning like late 20s, early 30s, and you've just qualified, a direct and associate, I would say, has about 15 plus years experience, 10 plus, yeah, I'd say about 15. So then, yeah, that I think that...
Is it that, or are people just leaving?
It could be that too. It could be that people are leaving, but it could also
I think
be
it's
that
one of two.
There
people
aren't
are qualifying
people
late, or people are qualifying early and leaving
the career.
And I'm glad I really did wait to do my part 3. But if you've done your undergraduate for 3 years, you've worked for a year, you've done your masters for 2 years, you've worked for a year, you're doing your part 3 and you're qualified, do you know how to build a building? You're 25.
Yeah. Is that if you do it like literally from 18?
Yeah,
you
so
would
you're
qualify
in at 18,
25.
you'd qualify 25, 26.
So if you just did it back to back to back, you'd be 25, 26. That's really pretty good.
But then everyone's complaining, oh, as a chartered architect, you start the rate is 36k in London. You're 25, 26, and you've had 2 years experience.
Maybe in this economy.
And I get it, because it's 7 years of study, 6, 7 years of study. So I get it. In the time that you're spending 3 years, 2 years, 5, so another year, 6, 7 years of study to become chartered, I get it. You spent 7 years in uni, you're now chartered, and you're looking at someone who's done medicine or a doctor and they've done 7 years, they're on 60 or 70, I don't even know the quotes, but they're on this, and you're on 36.
And you're on 36.
So you're like, well, I've done this time.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. And I say this with love, because I feel like we should be paid more. I don't think what we're paid is enough for the value that we do put out and the responsibility that we do have. I don't agree with it at all. But what I do agree with is the level of experience and the competence of architects that have been churned out at such a fast rate. And don't get me wrong, 7 years isn't fast, but the experience that you have has been fast. You've only had 2 years. You only need 2 years experience to be chartered architects. And with that, you only have to do your case study to show that you have done some kind of experience to be chartered. And with that, you can shadow the whole stages of, stage 0 to stage 3. So you've never done planning before, you've never done a planning application, you've just seen it being done in the office, and you can shadow it. Okay, cool. So you can have the understanding, but you've never done it before. And then you may be technical, and you've worked on technical, and that's all you're known for. So you're really good at stages 3 to 5, and you've been doing that for years, and you're not interested in planning. And I get it. So yes, you can make a building stand up, but you don't know how to properly put it through planning. And I think that argument there, to me, is a conversation worth had, because I don't know how I feel about that. I am more technical than I am planning, but I've done planning applications. I put through planning applications and whatnot. Um, but I feel like having an all-round experience makes you a better and competent architect.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like within 2 years, you can't get that, because it is hard to progress and get that career development in architecture as a whole. So to put it on 2 years
is
not enough to have the whole competent experience of read the stages 0 to 6, let's say. You really have to go in with a strategy and be like, 1 year I'm doing this, and then the second year I'm doing that.
This, yeah.
But if you fall in love with a particular thing, you then have to decide.
Fall into it, yeah. Am I technical or am I design?
And I just don't think, me personally, I don't think 2 years is enough experience to become a chartered architect. Okay. And therefore, I think some people who are qualified and chartered do deserve to be on 36. And there are other people that are chartered don't deserve to be on 36, because they are bringing so much more value to the table.
But that's one thing that I think it's the benchmarking, isn't it? It's a case of, I think it's
and I believe with like the same
Technologist, with your proven track record of like experience, I don't think you'd be paid the exact same as someone that's got like 2-3 years. So I think there's something there that probably doesn't. I think the institution as a whole does need to look at how salary is, I guess, how they distribute salary.
Yeah.
Based on experience, based on a track record, based on the projects you've worked on and the value that you bring, rather than you are an architect, so you get this. But I'm an 100%. Architect with this, and this. So let's talk about it.
And I think as a whole, the industry doesn't value that.
All I'm going to say is, as a technologist, you can get lost as an architectural assistant. Don't.
But with that, because obviously you went in as a technologist into architectural practices, do you think the lines are blurred between architecture and architectural technologists in terms of career progression? And
absolutely.
And I ask this because, like, we have part 1, part 2, part 3, and you have, obviously you don't have part 1, part 2, part 3. You have architectural technologists, and then you have chartered technologists. So it's like, from me as an outsider looking in, I feel like you just get lost with the assistants in the practice, and I don't feel like your skill set still to this day is really valued, which I think is such a shame.
So as a technologist, like, you do the 3 years, and then after the 3 years, I think what SIAT has probably not done very well is built some sort of development program that takes you towards chartership. I mean, they've got like, we know that they've got like the framework and stuff to become chartered, but there's no emphasis on like,
we don't want part 1, part 2 for part 3 for technologists either. We don't want that.
Like you just don't know. Like, and then you just kind of stay within that sort of architectural technologist assistant sort of role, because you're sort of doing the same thing. And then you realize, actually, I should be doing more technical things. But if you stay within that whole bubble of like, you know, being an architectural assistant, you're not really going to grow as a technologist, because you're not growing in your technical awareness or knowledge. You're literally just working on elevations, floor plans, sections, which are good, but like, it's the details that actually help you to understand construction. And so I think one thing that I definitely would say that I regret is not being quick enough to say, actually, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do door schedules. I don't care about window schedules. I want to work on construction details. And I think I would say start earlier. Like, as soon as you get into practice, make sure you have a goal set in mind that I'm doing construction. Career strategy is so important. Construction details and technical. That's what I want to do. And I'm not, of course, like, with all being well, you know, there's different priorities and deadlines and whatnot. But I think you should really be utilizing, well, architecture firms should make sure that they're building competent technologists as well as competent assistants. And I just think at the moment it's quite blurred, because there's just not much structure. It's like we're all sort of going through the same sort of lane until one person wakes up and like, nope, I want more. I want more, actually. Oliver Twist.
Yeah. Please, sir, can I have some more?
Literally. And I felt like I did that slightly late. But yeah.
Yeah.
To grow, you need to literally cry out for technical knowledge. You just won't grow as a. But after you become chartered, I think it is definitely a different journey. I think you're also more respected slightly more.
So, my question to you is, what is actually required to become chartered? Because becoming chartered as an architect is that's a whole thing. But what is actually required to become chartered as a technologist?
So they have 4, I'd say, criterias, which is design, management. So you need to understand the management side of projects. You need to understand design. You need to understand. Oh, also there's like self. I think that's like PDR for you guys, but it's like a self. Like a self-review thing. Like how do you like? Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, there's another one on competence, which is like technical competence, obviously, because it's with technologists. And so based on those 4 criteria, you have your projects and you sort of like with evidence based, like I did this, and you log it, and then there's an interview.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's kind of
Wouldn't
similar.
It be great for that to be in architecture for an architect.
I think it's similar. No, it definitely is similar. I mean, there are some differences, but I think I'd probably say they put it in a way where it's easier. To become chartered than it is to like just,
because that means then you don't need to go back to uni to become chartered.
No, you don't.
You can do it
whilst you're working.
And I think that is a massive thing for me when I was looking to become chartered, was like not taking time off, because obviously you work and you go to uni at the same time. But why can I not use the years of experience that I've got to enter in to show my competence? Because I did my part 3 really late. I did it after 7 years. So for me, it was like, I already have this to show you, to tell you. I've run projects, I've done this, I've done that. I'm competent, give me my chartership. Like, I didn't want to go back to uni in that kind of regard. And that's what delayed everything. So I feel like that's so interesting that they have that.
Yes, they do. But I would say, so initially, I will say this though, initially there were 2 routes to become chartered. So there was a POP record, and then now there's like a performance competence framework thing. I think that's what it's called. So the POP record was long. Like, it was genuinely, I would say it was like a dissertation, but like...
Oh, so like a case study that we have to do? Because we
probably,
like 13,000.
It was, but it was like really long, and it had like subsections, and you genuinely had to write essays on each subsection, and it would go on. You could be going on for years doing it because it was just so long.
So it's like a PhD.
And so I feel like that deterred people from doing it, because it, like, I get it, because the detail was there.
Architecture. I feel like there's too many people qualifying.
Do you think?
There's way too many people.
But they've now made it very.
There's way too many people qualifying to become architects that should not be qualifying to become architects. I said what I said.
Some architects that
I'm not saying that people are incompetent. What I'm saying is there are people that don't have enough experience to be an architect. I feel from the moment that you're a qualified chartered architect, you should be able to take a building through planning and through to completion with the experience that you have. And I don't believe a lot of people who are chartered as an architect are able to do that by themselves.
But this is one thing that I actually do think SciAT do really well. I think every single chartered, I believe anyway, every single chartered, because you have to show
of working,
that you can do this.
And that's where I think that's really important.
Yeah. So I think they do that. Oh, you can.
And enter it in as our experience. Okay. Yeah. So if you're shadowing planning, I mean, do you know how to do the planning?
There are some aspects, I'd say, in management.
Don't come for me.
No, for real. But like, I'd say like one of the criterias is like management. So you need to understand, I guess, like fees and like resourcing and different things like
we
that.
have that as well. But
And so I would say like with kind of the level of what I'm working on at the moment, I don't really do fees or resourcing much, but I can shadow and see how this is done and then say, okay, this I understand. So it's a level of understanding rather than like I've done it, like because not everyone's going to get the chance to.
Of course.
Eventually.
And with that, yes, I can say that makes sense. But I think with architecture and from day one, you have to know the fees. You're taking on the work from a client to go through planning.
Yeah, so you need to understand.
So you need to know the fees. You need to know from taking on this contract to what stage are we doing this to and how long and how far is the fee going? Because the main topic in architecture is we're not paid enough. Where do you think that is? The fees.
Yeah. The
fees. If we don't know the fees as a chartered architect, are you competent?
All I'm going to say is, as a technologist, you can get lost as an architectural assistant. Don't. When you get to a certain place in your career and you think, oh, I need to learn more technical stuff, you need to learn the technical stuff. It's not like you're being given that sort of opportunity. Maybe that's just for me. I don't know. But I didn't. I just feel like I woke up a bit late. They don't teach you this anyway at uni. And so if you're not studying outside of work, you're not really learning anything. So it's like they expect you to be at work, do all the like the, you know, standard schedules. You can do bathroom details. No, bathroom elevations. You can do this. You can
because you're lying.
Get me the stuff to get me across the line. I just feel like technical competence is
in architectural practices. I think the technical aspects really just come when you're project lead, still with that more in terms of delegating out who's going to do that kind of work and who's competent to do it. So it might be either a part two who's competent to do technical stuff or
but an strong and confident to do it. And the thing pivoting, I've seen so many pivoting, but people are actually doing so many interesting things. Like I saw the other day that I think it's 2 architects, qualified architects, they're not, you know, practicing in architecture, but they actually founded a business on like raw materials. And so they do like this whole understanding how I guess the materials work within the building. Like
was that on LinkedIn?
I think it was
on
LinkedIn.
Think I saw that.
I saw something. It was really interesting. I thought that's such a pivot. Yeah, like such a pivot. It's not it's not like an architecture firm, but like you're still using the same skill set. And I thought that was really interesting. So
definitely. But I think there is a lot of that happening because of the financial awareness. I think it's not a topic that people entering into architecture aren't aware of. Whereas I think when I entered into architecture, the topic of finance wasn't a thing because people were being paid well, and it was a career route where you could. It was like you could see that it was viable and it was sustainable. Yeah. Obviously, having been in the industry for over 10 years, things have definitely changed, and I've seen the change like happen. And I think those looking to come into architecture, or they're freshly graduating, or they're studying right now as like part ones and they're like finishing next year, or they're finishing now, or whatever. I think they have that realization. I think they see it and they're not unaware of it. And I think that's where many questions are coming towards, like, what do I do? Is it worth it? Do I continue? Do I do my part 2? Do I change and do this? What can I do with an architectural degree? A lot. There is a lot to be done. Yeah, we would love to know if you have any questions for us. Drop them in the comments or drop us a DM, and then we can discuss them as well. We can have a conversation, get them answered, show you our thoughts. But yeah, we would love to hear from you, and look out for the next episode. You've been CC'd.